5 Live Formula One.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spa, one of Formula One's original circuits steeped in history. Welcomes the travelling circus for round 10 of the World Championship. On the eastern side of Belgium, about 140 kilometres east of Brussels, is where you can find Formula One's longest lap. And in a few minutes' time, we'll see 22 cars heading their way towards La Source, through Eau Rouge and up the hill at Raidillon, surrounded by packed out grandstands and punters overlooking the track, sitting on the grassy verges of the Ardennes forest that surround us. And guiding you through it all is myself, Harry Benjamin. Alongside me in the commentary box, British racing driver Sam Bird. Sam, Spa, you've mastered this circuit multiple times throughout your career. It's a special place.
Special place indeed, Harry. Good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to this one. 44 entertaining laps coming your way. Can Kimi Antonelli keep the fast and furious Max Verstappen behind him on the opening lap? He's going to be gunning for the young Italian. I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, it starts on pole, and for Kimi Antonelli, the 19-year-old who leads the Drivers' Championship by 25 points. It's a good place to be. His own pole-to-win rate so far has been 80%, but around here, Sam, not always guaranteed. The pole sitter has only a 36% conversion rate here at Spa.
Yeah, it's not a tight and twisty circuit, this one. It's fast and flowing, the longest circuit on the F1 calendar, with plenty of overtaking opportunities. Expect Max Verstappen to attempt an overtake into turn one. Then what can he do through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and then heading down the Long Kemmel Straight to Lecum? You know, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities. Also, sector 3 into the bus stop chicane. I think we've got a real fight on our hands this afternoon.
Let's hope so, as we're just seeing Lewis Hamilton do his final stretches. He puts the hands device over his shoulders, helmet well and truly on, and then he lowers himself into his scarlet Ferrari and gets nestled into the cockpit, ready for 44 laps of racing. Doing the same is Kimi Antonelli, and here's what he had to say ahead of today's race to Ariana Bravo.
Kimi, you've looked strong all weekend, in fact all season. Just talk to us about how much you were enjoying driving this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a fast car, so that helps, but you know, I just feel better overall. Every weekend I feel more in control of myself, and also, you know, understanding more and more the car. So definitely it's been enjoyable, but still it's a long way, and today we got to finish the job.
You're starting on pole position today. How do you see this race playing out, and just how important is that race start?
Yeah, it's really important, also because the run into turn 1 is into turn 5 is very long. So, you know, it's going to be important to get a good start, good exit out of turn 1, and then hopefully we can maintain the lead into turn 5.
Go well today, Kimi. Thank you so much.
Looking for a 6th Grand Prix victory is Kimi Antonelli, but as you say, Sam, Max Verstappen will start alongside him, which he feels actually was due to the teamwork displayed by Isaac Hadjar. Gave him a tow in qualifying that might have been worth around 0.3 of a second. Is Verstappen, even if he can get ahead using a tow in lap 1, can he maintain it? Is he a proper threat over the course of 44 laps?
He's certainly a threat in the opening phase of the race.
So we expect a very small shower 5 minutes after the race start, but it should last about 4 minutes and very light rain.
Ooh, that's exciting, isn't it? That could make things very tasty. But going back to Max Verstappen, I think the opening phase of the race, he's certainly going to be a thorn in Mercedes' side. Obviously, he's nestled in between Antonelli and Russell on the front row of the grid. You know, Max Verstappen is a feisty driver. He's going to be throwing some shapes at Antonelli, and he'll want to lead the race at some point in the early phases.
Yeah, certainly. Max Verstappen actually hasn't finished outside of the points here at Spa since 2016. Starts on the front row in second. Thinks, though, without that tow from Hadjar, might have started down in 6th place.
Well, he never qualifies well here, to be honest, Max Verstappen.
He always
For some reason,
kind of penalty.
he always has something going on, but we saw just how fast he can be around this track in that dominant Red Bull era when he won most of the races. I think that was 2 years ago now. He started down in 14th and still managed to win the race from there. So he's got a great record round here. He's dare I say, I think he's the best driver on the grid, and he'll be wanting to have a strong performance at what is one of his home races.
Yeah, Max Verstappen, born in Belgium with a Belgian mother as well, so half a home race for him. The same is for Lando Norris too. You just heard a bit of team radio there. That was Laura Muller, Esteban Ocon's race engineer, informing him that there might be a bit of light rain before the start of the race. The risk of rain is at 10%. There are some grey clouds overhead. It's a lot more overcast than it has been all weekend long. Temperatures lower than they have been all weekend too. Air temperature just over 17 degrees. Track temperature around 28 degrees. But it's all well and good a little bit of rain, Sam, but the beauty and the curse of this circuit, I suppose, is it's over 7 kilometres long. It can be bone dry in one area and completely drenched in another.
Exactly. You're saying 10% chance of rain, but that is in that particular area, and this track spans over 7 kilometres. It's huge. So that 10% means absolutely nothing around Spa. More interestingly, the top 10 are all starting on the medium compound tyre. Lando Norris, though, down in 13th. He's opted for the hard compound, and then a little bit further back you've got Valtteri Bottas and the Williams of Carlos Sainz, both starting on the soft.
Yeah, that is interesting. A one-stop strategy expected from the top 10 runners, at least, if you start on the medium tyre, looking to try and go to around about lap 17 to 23 before you switch onto the hard tyre. Let's talk about George Russell, Sam. He lines up in third, but he's been chasing lap time all weekend long. Ended up a half a second deficit between himself and Kimi Antonelli. What's going on with George?
He seems to be chasing lap time most weekends at the moment, does George. And the complaint at the moment, and it was the same at Silverstone, is straight line speed performance. And he doesn't seem to have got his head around some area and concept of driving this 2026 Mercedes car, whereas Kimi Antonelli has got his head around it and extracting the maximum performance out of it. We don't fully understand what's going on, but it's definitely a case of deployment and not extracting the maximum out of the battery pack.
Yeah, chasing straight line speed, and an issue there for George Russell, which has really been hampering him, despite trying to change his driving characteristics, driving style as well. They're still searching for a cure for that. Let's see if anything can benefit Russell in today's race. We mentioned Lando Norris. As you said, he's starting down in 13th on the hard tyre. He actually initially qualified third, but because of his 10-place grid penalty for an extra battery, starts further down. I'll tell you what, before we talk about him, let's hear from Lando Norris again, speaking to Ariana Bravo.
Lando, 10-place grid penalty drops you down the order today, but you looked rapid in qualifying yesterday. How encouraging was that pace?
Very, yeah. I mean, I would have loved to start P3, because I think P3 is a pretty good place to start with such a long run down to turn 5, but take it on the chin, and still excited for today. We can still have fun, we can still put some good overtakes in, and I think we can still get a good result today. So I don't know how far up the order we can get, but we're optimistic.
This is a sort of home race for you here as well, and the fans absolutely love you. We've seen it all weekend in the fan zone. How lovely is it being back here with this level of support?
It's always great. I mean, every track's fun, but Spa's been a race that I love for many years. Not many people know, but still a good amount know that my mum's from Belgium, so it's a bit of a home race for me. My mum's here this weekend, so it's a good thing. There's a lot of flags, a lot of my t-shirts and banners and everything, so extra motivation for today.
Lovely. Enjoy today. Good luck.
Well, Sam, Lando Norris, he's got the pace, and Verstappen won from 14th on the grid back in 2022. McLaren, I think, almost actually surprising themselves with how much pace they've had this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think we can compare the Lando Norris's car right now with the Max Verstappen dominance when he won from 14th. I think a really good result today for Lando Norris would be top 5, and that's potentially pushing it anyway. But yeah, definitely 10 points or more would be a super weekend for him.
Hearing rumblings from team radio that light rain has been pushed back a tad, so not expecting any kind of light rain before the start of the race as we rapidly now get ready for the formation lap. The grandstands are absolutely packed. The tyre warmers have been lifted from all 22 Formula One car wheels as the grid begins to clear and the formation lap moments away. It's time now for the Belgian Grand Prix. Let's run you through the grid then from back to front, and on row 11 Fernando Alonso starts last, just behind Isaac Hadjar's Red Bull with a penalty. Lance Stroll from 20th, also with a penalty, along with Carlos Sainz in the Williams 19th. Perez is behind his Cadillac teammate in 18th, Bottas ahead in 17th. Esteban Ocon enters the top 16 behind Alex Albon. Oliver Behrman starts 14th for Haas, with Lando Norris starting just ahead in 13th. Hulkenberg 12th ahead of Colapinto. Inside the top 10 then it's Pierre Gasly behind Liam Lawson. Gabriel Bortoleto 8th, Arvid Lindblad from 7th. The top 6 sees Oscar Piastri, Hamilton in 5th with Charles Leclerc 4th, George Russell is 3rd, and your front row is Max Verstappen, and starting on pole it's Kimi Antonelli. As they make their way round on the formation lap then, everybody just about getting away nicely. Let's check in with our BBC F1 correspondent Andrew Benson. Andrew, ahead of 44 laps, what are you watching out for?
Well, this rain's added a bit of extra spice, Harry, hasn't it? I mean, I think everybody in the paddock expects Antonelli to disappear off into the distance as long as he can keep his position at the start. He's been in a league of his own all weekend. But of course, it's a long run up to turn 5, Les Combes, the chicane. And even Antonelli himself has been talking about how concerned he is about that with Verstappen behind him. And of course, George Russell has been promoted a place by Lando Norris's penalty. So if Antonelli keeps his position, then it looks like he should win. And then Russell and Verstappen dispute second place. The Ferraris are struggling with a lack of power, but then if Antonelli loses that position, the energy management situation at Spa makes getting the position back and holding it difficult because of it's so energy greedy, this circuit. So if he does fall behind, it might not be the easiest thing to get back in front.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. We'll check in with you throughout the course of the 44 laps around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, just over 7 kilometres. It is Formula One's longest circuit. 19 corners, 10 that head to the left, 9 that head to the right. It's a short run down to La Source, a right-hander, before you then focus on the run-up through Eau Rouge, rising up over Radion, the crest of the hill, then takes you down the Kemmel Straight towards what we will very much be watching out for down at Les Combes, the right-left chicane, before that sets you into the tricky middle sector. Tight, twisty and technical before it's then pretty much flat out for the final sector of this lap. Kimi Antonelli now coming on to the grid. 25 points he has an advantage over George Russell. Lewis Hamilton sits 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. And Sam, Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen lining up, just pointing their noses towards each other.
Absolutely. Kimi Antonelli looks like he's pointing just into the middle of the circuit to fend off from Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen doing the same thing, pointing slightly towards Kimi Antonelli. Both drivers looking to go aggressive into turn 1.
A fair chance of a safety car here at Spa-Francorchamps. Over the course of the last few years, it works out at about 50%. That's Fernando Alonso, the last car with a grid penalty to his name. Qualified at the back anyway, makes his last few burnouts and lines up at the back of the pack behind Isaac Hadjar, also with a penalty too. Lando Norris from 13th. How far can he climb up the order? The green flag flies at the back. George Russell is 3rd, chasing the championship lead. Max Verstappen in 2nd. And your pole sitter is the young 19 Italian, Kimi Antonelli. It's all eyes to the lights and foot to the floor as we go racing in Belgium. And it's a good start from Kimi Antonelli. George Russell trying to get in amongst it. He's having to fend off Charles Leclerc as Max Verstappen takes the wide line. George Russell's going to have the inside. Can Russell get a good launch out of the corner? Antonelli in the run-up now to Eau Rouge, holding on to the lead as Verstappen gets alongside, and through Eau Rouge, Verstappen makes the move and takes the lead as they rise up over Radion. Verstappen takes the lead at the Belgian Grand Prix, but Kimi Antonelli's fighting back at him. They're going side by side, the two Ferraris, have gotten ahead of George Russell into the braking zone of Lecombe. Antonelli fights back and the Ferrari's up to second. Russell gets tagged. Russell in the gravel. He spins out as the two racing bulls go side by side. But after all the melee coming through Lecombe, Russell is stopped at turn 6. Antonelli leads.
Disaster for George Russell, just getting tagged by Lewis Hamilton through turns 5 and 6, and he is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. Great work from Kimi Antonelli. I felt like that was actually quite tactical from him, Harry, to lose the lead through and into Eau Rouge, then get it back down Kemmel Straight. Great stuff from the young Italian.
That was a nightmare though for his teammate George Russell as they make their way through Stavolo now, and it's Kimi Antonelli who leads. Charles Leclerc got up to second in that. Max Verstappen down to third, having momentarily had the lead. Then comes Lewis Hamilton, and I think there might be a transponder issue with Oscar Piastri and his McLaren, because it's recording him as last. Safety car is out. We'll double check that, as I think Oscar Piastri is just behind Hamilton, as Russell is out of his car. George Russell out of the Belgian Grand Prix. He will walk away with no points.
Absolute disaster, considering he'd got the gap in the World Championship down to 25 points. I mean, it could be as bad as going up to 50 points, couldn't it, Harry, at this rate?
Oscar Piastri is up
and a
in
puncture, Harry,
place.
Puncture for Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, Ocon having an issue, but the safety car allowing him to bring that back. Okay, so everyone bunches up. We started lap 2 of 44. The order is Antonelli, Leclerc, Verstappen, the top 3. Piastri is 4th. Then comes Lewis Hamilton. Lawson's had a great start up to 6th, ahead of his teammate Arvid Lindblad. Pit stoppers further back. Colapinto's 8th, ahead of Bortoletto. Lando Norris started down in 13th, already now up inside the top 10, ahead of Gasly. Albon's 12th. Then comes Hulkenberg in 13th. Sainz is 14th. Behrman's chosen to come into the pits. So too has Isaac Hadjar. He's gone onto the medium tyre. Alonso down there along with Perez, Stroll, Bottas and Ocon all pitting. George Russell retiring from this Grand Prix. The man who was chasing a 25-point deficit will see that grow come the end of these 44 laps.
So the start of the race was all about deployment, Harry. Where did people deploy? It looks like Max Verstappen deployed out of 1 and down into Eau Rouge, and then lost the lead down the Kemmel Straight because Antonelli deployed slightly down the Kemmel Straight. Also deploying later down the Kemmel Straight was Charles Leclerc, getting past Max Verstappen as well. Here's a replay of the start.
Well, yeah, we'll see the start, and it was a good start from Kimi Antonelli. Max Verstappen stopped it into second. The Ferrari, actually, of Charles Leclerc was really getting up alongside George Russell. Went round the outside at La Source, but then Russell was able to cut back in, tighter line, managed to give himself a bit of distance, but then just loses pace in the run-up towards Eau Rouge, which is where Verstappen nicks past Antonelli. Antonelli comes back at Verstappen once they get down the Kemmel Straight. At this stage, it's Verstappen, Antonelli and Russell, and what happens to Russell? Charles Leclerc breezes through, then Lewis Hamilton gets ahead of Russell, Oscar Piastri's to Russell inside, Russell late on the brakes around the outside, Sam.
Oh, and it was just a case of not enough room. 2 into 1 don't go, and it was, I think that was really avoidable between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell there. We're on board with Lewis Hamilton now. Huge speed down the Kemmel Straight. Then you'll see George Russell appearing on the outside. There he is. Oh, and it looks like I think Lewis Hamilton's caused that, you know, Harry. I hate to say it, but he's had a bit of an understeer, then had oversteer as he's lost the aerodynamics of that Ferrari in the wake of the cars in front.
Car crossed over in front of me. I was right behind another car, so I had no front end.
There you go. Yeah, he had an understeer, it then had a little bit of a swapper and went to oversteer, caught the middle to back of George's car, and around he went.
And that has also caused damage for Lewis Hamilton on the front wing, as well as Carlos Sainz further back in the pack, as it all starts to concertina up. Gave a Haas a puncture. Meanwhile, the other Haas of Esteban Ocon, as we head towards the Lefania chicane, he tagged his own teammate Oliver Behrman, who was running around the outside. That became the inside of the next left-hander, and that gave Ocon an immediate puncture on the front left.
Yeah, we've seen Esteban Ocon, unfortunately, over the years clash with teammates a lot of times, haven't we? But I don't think he can be fully to blame for that one.
As we see Isaac Hadjar coming back through the pits with a fresh set of hard tyres now.
That's 2 laps in a row that he's come in and done a pit stop. He went from the hard to the medium. Now he's gone from the medium to the hard. I don't know whether there's something else going on there. Well, maybe it's a good opportunity to bed a set of tyres so that on the opening lap of your stint you're not losing so much.
I wonder if he'll try and then see if he can go to the end, but we are under safety car conditions. Lap 3 of 44. Let's bring in our BBC F1 correspondent Andrew Benson. That was not the start George Russell needed.
No, he was very unlucky there, wasn't he? I think I agree with Sam, obviously, and obviously Lewis Hamilton agrees with Sam too. Unknowingly, Hamilton's just... he might get a penalty for it, but it almost wasn't his fault because of the issue that he described with the aerodynamics. Tagged Russell and took Russell out. Whether Russell should have gone for that move is a different question, but of course he's a racing driver. He wants to try and get that position back. Just on the subject of Hadjar, Harry, I think you're absolutely right. So he started on the hard tyre, switched to the medium first, then came straight back in onto the hards. Fresh set of hards. Second time round, he'll go to the end on those tyres, or at least try to.
Yeah, very interesting, Andrew. Thank you for that. Well, Hadjar falls to the back now, 21st out of the 21 remaining cars. Russell out of this race. Those who also stopped, Behrman, who got tagged by his teammate. Perez also used the opportunity to pit, along with his Cadillac teammate, Valtteri Bottas, and the other Haas of Esteban Ocon caught up in the travails against his teammate, pitting. Everybody else staying out. So still under safety car conditions. Antonelli leads Leclerc, Verstappen third, Piastri fourth, then Hamilton. And I want to get a look at Hamilton's front wing and see how much damage that sustained as well, because it was a fair whack. Lawson and Lindblad are up in 6th and 7th. Colapinto, good start from outside the top 10 into 8th. Bortoletto holds 9th. Norris from 13th up into 10th, as the Hamilton-Russell incident is under investigation now. Gasly 11th, Albon behind him. Then comes Hülkenberg, Sainz, Alonso the top 15 with Stroll, Behrman, Perez, Bottas, Ocon and Hadjar, the 21 remaining cars. Russell out of the race.
So I've just had a look at Lewis Hamilton's front wing and there doesn't appear to be any major damage, so he should be okay with that front wing until the end of the race.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so a little bit of time to breathe then. And, well, for Kimi Antonelli, having to sustain the pressure of Max Verstappen passing him down at Eau Rouge, but then having the confidence on that Kemmel Straight just to breeze back by him. And in the end, actually, I think a fair shout out to Charles Leclerc, who was able to really benefit, having started down in 4th, up into 2nd. A good start for the Ferrari driver. A
brilliant start for Charles Leclerc. But I think that was really tactical from Kimi Antonelli. I think him and Peter Bonington have worked on that and decided, look, if he wants to go past you, make sure he gets past before Eau Rouge, so that then you can deploy down the Kemmel Straight. And it's worked out brilliantly for them on that opening lap. They knew that they'd be under pressure from Max Verstappen and opted for him to be overtaken at exactly the right point for the beginning phase of the lap, to then re-overtaking him later on in the lap.
Safety car will be coming in this lap. That's the latest update from race control. So Bert Mailander behind the wheel of the Mercedes-AMG safety car. The lights will go out and then Kimi Antonelli will effectively take over as the pace setter. And they'll weave left and right, making sure they've got heat into those tyres. We are still on rain watch, expecting a few light spells. How intense they are, we'll have to wait and see where they are on the track. That'll be a huge factor too.
Yeah, this track can cause some surprises when it comes to weather. Sometimes you think we're going to be absolutely fine, and 2 minutes later you've got rain in one sector and it's bone dry in the next. So let's see how that plays out. The safety car has disappeared up the road and Kimi Antonelli has slowed right down and is controlling the pace of this race. It's up to him now when he puts his foot down and gets this race underway again.
And I wonder if he's already gone in the run up to Blanchimont through the flat out left-hander. Charles Leclerc's gone right with him though. They've left Max Verstappen behind, who has to fend off Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton. Will Charles Leclerc try and have a look here? No, he loses ground in the run to the bus stop chicane. chicane and won't be able to make a move there anyway, as we now start lap 5 of 44 then, and Antonelli leads towards La Source. Charles Leclerc heading him as Lewis Hamilton down the inside of Oscar Piastri at La Source. Piastri will try and get the cut back, better traction on the exit, both activate straight line mode, the rear and front wings both open. Piastri's going to fight back here, it's going to be side by side, almost up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Hamilton has to tuck back in last minute, will that give him better momentum? That was brave, that was beautiful. Piastri up to 4th, Hamilton down to 5th, and now having to look at his mirrors at the two racing bulls.
Oh, some fans complain about this yo-yo racing. I think it's absolutely unbelievable how close these drivers can get in the early phases of this race. We see some fantastic racing.
We certainly have indeed, but Kimi Antonelli now already a second up the road from Charles Leclerc. Verstappen 3rd, Piastri through and up into 4th, Hamilton 5th. A reminder, Lewis Hamilton under investigation for that incident with George Russell. Lawson and Lindblad complete the top 7. Colapinto is 8th, Bortoleto 9th, and Lando Norris just sitting there and waiting on that hard tyre, which is what he started on, having qualified 3rd. 10-place grid penalty put him down to 13th, going long into this race.
Absolutely. Kimi Antonelli already 1 second clear, 1.1 seconds clear now of Charles Leclerc. I think that this will be a drive into the distance now for Kimi Antonelli, barring any disasters. What's going to be exciting, though, is can Charles Leclerc hold on to second place? We know that they've been lacking power fundamentally all weekend. Can he keep Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri and his teammate Lewis Hamilton behind for the rest of the race?
Yeah, it does have a rather ominous feeling about it, looking at Kimi Antonelli, although Leclerc keeping tabs on it, now within a second, and Verstappen closes up to the back of Charles Leclerc through the bus stop chicane. In fact, the top 10 all pretty much making their way in the same picture down towards La Source as we tick over for another lap. 6 of 44 as Gabriel Bortoleto defending from Pierre Gasly. Norris has just got through on Bortoleto, it seems, up into 9th. Bortoleto now on the back foot as Gasly breezes by, and the Alpine gets himself into the points inside the top 10. Meanwhile, down the Kemmel Straight, Charles Leclerc's under pressure here for second, moves to the inside, Verstappen to the outside. It's a drag race to the breaking point, which Verstappen wins.
But he's deployed a lot of energy in Sector 1 in order to get that move done. I think Charles Leclerc, unless he makes a mistake in Sector 2, will definitely be looking to re-overtaking in Sector 3 and down towards the bus stop chicane later on this lap.
And talk of re-overtaking, Bortoleto's just got back through on Gasly inside the top 10. Antonelli now extends his lead to 1.2 seconds. Charles Leclerc sits 3rd, just behind Max Verstappen. Piastri 4th, Hamilton in 5th. Now there's a small gap starting to appear between the top 5 and the midfield runners. Lawson sits in 6th, keeping Arvid Lindblad at bay. Interesting to note, Arvid Lindblad had out-qualified Liam Lawson, and Lindblad is the one with the big upgrade that Racing Bulls have brought this weekend. Liam Lawson will get it next week. Colapinto is 8th now, but with Lando Norris all over his rear wing. Bortoleto rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, P5 or P6 is definitely on for Lando Norris, isn't it, at this rate? He's on the hard compound tyre. Expect him to go longer in this race and then have the medium compound to finish, so he could be coming strong come the end of the race.
Battle for 3rd now starting to heat up as Charles Leclerc has to look in his mirrors a little more. He's got Oscar Piastri right behind him, and then his teammate Lewis Hamilton.
Max Verstappen is actually keeping tabs on Kimi Antonelli in this phase. I mean, we're only early doors, and maybe Kimi's just looking after his tyres a little bit. The medium compound tyre can go off quite quickly. Max Verstappen's probably pushing quite hard, and it yo-yos, doesn't it, throughout the lap? He's had it down at 0.7 of a second at some points, and then it rises up to 1.1 seconds as the lap starts.
Tell you what, though, good momentum for Oscar Piastri up over the hill at Radion. He's all over the back of Charles Leclerc. Straight line mode activated. He'll apply a bit of boost as well. Can he get alongside the Monegasque, the Ferrari? No. Stays tucked in behind him. It's Leclerc 3rd, Piastri 4th, Hamilton 5th. Antonelli leads. Verstappen 2nd. Well, it's been a chaotic start at the Belgian Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli from pole leads Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc in third, but George Russell tangling with Lewis Hamilton on lap 1 and is out of the race. He's fine, he's out of the car, but Russell will be scoring no points this afternoon, whilst Lewis Hamilton is under investigation for that incident. It's lap 7 of 44, Antonelli leads. Kimi Antonelli then a second the gap. Verstappen just behind then, just teetering over now that 1.1 second. The sound you were just hearing there was Lewis Hamilton, who is staying within and keeping tabs on Piastri in front. And really, well, the McLaren man has found himself in a Ferrari sandwich here. Ferrari have got the advantage of 2 cars against 1.
Yeah, he's nestled in between the 2 Ferraris, isn't he, at the moment? But he's applying pressure right now to Charles Leclerc. Is he going to try around the outside into the bus stop chicane? No. What he'll look to do now is sweep back and then get a great exit down towards turn 1. Rear wings will open now. And no, he's a little bit too far. He's a little bit too far back at the moment. But Lewis Hamilton is just keeping tabs on them very nicely. I wonder what the stewards are going to do, though, with Lewis Hamilton. Are they going to see that as a racing incident?
I tell you what, Lando Norris will soon be on the back and joining this fight. He's just gotten Colapinto in the bus stop chicane as teammate Piastri now is coming for Charles Leclerc. Leclerc really squeezes into the edge of the track, though, coming through the Kemmel straight. Piastri does not waver. He squeezes his McLaren there, and there's contact! Right rear, but left rear for Leclerc, right front for Piastri. Leclerc holds on, Piastri slots in behind. Hamilton can't take advantage, but some carbon fibre flew off there.
Yeah, I don't know how neither car has not got a puncture in that contact. We saw carbon fibre flying off to the left-hand side of the track. I think that was off the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, if I'm not mistaken, but both drivers continue. That's just probably over the limit from both of them there.
Oh, it was certainly squeezing him all the way down that Kemmel straight, wasn't Charles Leclerc? Here's Piastri.
I can't leave enough space. That could have been a massive crash.
Yeah, agree with you there, Oscar.
I'm sure we'll get another look at it. Yellow flag is out, potentially for that debris down at turn 5, the Lecom chicane. Lap 8 of 44, getting perilously close then to a podium place was Oscar Piastri, having actually been the McLaren on the back foot so far this weekend. Hasn't really had the pace to match his teammate Lando Norris, who's recovering from 13th and so far doing well. He's in 8th spot at the moment, 1.4 seconds behind Arvid Lindblad. Make that just under a second now to Liam Lawson, I should say. Lindblad's managed to get ahead of Liam Lawson somewhere. We've not seen where that's happened, but the 2 racing bulls have swapped places, and now Norris starts to approach.
Yeah, this phase of the race, that McLaren of Oscar Piastri looking a lot more comfortable than Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton also looking probably a little bit more comfortable than his teammate, who is in third at the moment. All this squabbling and fighting is just allowing Max Verstappen to have a little bit of breathing space in second, and he himself is sitting 1.2 seconds behind our leader, Kimi Antonelli.
Yellow flags have got away at turn 5. The debris has been cleared, so we could go racing. Piastri moves to the inside to defend from Lewis Hamilton, and no defence needed. Hamilton breezes by Oscar Piastri for 4th place. Was that carbon fibre that flew off from Piastri's car, and is it now causing him a loss in performance?
I think that's just another case of straight line speed mode. We're watching a replay now of Oscar Piastri trying to go around the outside of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc just moves over a little bit too much under braking, and I think it's the front right end plate of Oscar Piastri's McLaren that got damaged in the contact.
Last time out, Oscar Piastri found himself tangling with the Racing Bulls at the British Grand Prix, ended up scoring no points. A tangle early doors with Charles Leclerc has left him on the back foot now. He's still behind Hamilton, but dropping time, and that incident has been noted by race control.
Well, that could be both Ferraris under investigation for causing a collision. You know, if both of them get a 5-second stop and go penalty, for example, in the pit stops, that drops them way down the order later on this race and promotes Lawson and Lindblad up to a potential 4th and 5th place.
Well, Lawson demoted down to 8th place as Lando Norris makes no time at all and heads through at the bus stop chicane up into 7th. Meanwhile, news from race control. Lewis Hamilton, a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. Does the punishment fit the crime?
Oh, I mean, George Russell won't think so, because still Lewis Hamilton has the ability to finish the race and score some decent points. George Russell is sat in the gravel trap and not going anywhere. So I think Lewis will feel slightly aggrieved, because I don't think there was too much he could do. But if you're a Mercedes or George Russell fan, I think you're going to think that that's lenient.
And he'll serve that 5-second penalty at his first pit stop. He'll peel into his grid spot in the pit lane. The team will not be allowed to touch that Ferrari for 5 seconds. Even if a fingertip touches the rear wing by accident, it'll be deemed as the penalty not served correctly, and he'll have to do it again. And if there are no more pit stops to be made, of which he will still have to do one, then it's added onto your race time at the end. But I'll tell you what though, even with that, Ferrari fancy their podium chances today. They've already got Charles Leclerc nestled in 3rd place, Verstappen just ahead, half a second, and Hamilton right behind Leclerc. Piastri dropping back slightly, then it's the gap to the midfield Arvid Lindblad, which is soon going to be Lando Norris, who's done a remarkable opening stint in this race from 13th on the hard tyre, already up to 7th.
I think that damage on the front wing of Oscar Piastri is just hurting him a little bit at the moment. He's dropping back from the back of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, but probably not enough for McLaren to think about changing that front wing. That would be devastating in terms of the amount of time lost. To change front wing is you can definitely add about 8 or 9 seconds in your pit stop.
Lap 11 of 44 here at Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's round 10 of the Formula One World Championship. And the championship leader coming into this round, Kimi Antonelli, started with a 25-point advantage over teammate George Russell, looking set to extend that as he leads the Grand Prix from pole by nearly 2 seconds. Max Verstappen is the man chasing him, but Verstappen having to look more and more in his mirrors here as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, the 2 Ferrari drivers, are hunting the Dutchman down.
Yeah, and Kimi Antonelli, Piastri radio. Yeah, some damage to the right-hand side forward floor. It's not huge. So it wasn't the front wing, it's the front edge of the floor, which can be very difficult in terms of aero. Basically, what he would have done is lost aerodynamic ability in that area and aero points. Lando Norris up in 7th, applying pressure to Arvid Lindblad now in that newly developed Racing Bulls car. He's got the upgrade and his teammate Liam Lawson doesn't. He's making good use of it at the moment, up in 6th place.
Yeah, Arvid Lindblad, who started a career best 7th, looking for a 5th consecutive points score in Formula One, the British rookie, keeping Lando Norris at bay, but it does feel only a matter of time. Elevated, under investigation now, Leclerc and Piastri. So whilst one car in the form of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari has a 5-second time penalty, Charles Leclerc now under investigation. Do you think a similar penalty will be applied?
I think Charles moved over and allowed Oscar no room on the outside of the circuit, heading down the Kemmel Straight and under braking into Les Combes. So I think there's a potential for another penalty for another Ferrari driver. We could be looking at both getting a 5-second time penalty.
This is the sound of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari. Closes up under braking into La Source, takes a wider line compared to his teammate Charles Leclerc, who really hugs the apex as they now take the short stretch towards Eau Rouge.
Yeah, you had one driver there taking the shorter line, a tighter line, and slowing down the minimum speed. Lewis Hamilton getting a great run through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Is he going to have a go on his teammate? His teammate squeezing him, leaves him just enough room, and they're kind of stayed side by side. Oh, so close between the pair of them into Les Combes there, Harry.
You can actually see on the rear left of Charles Leclerc that the yellow wall that identifies it as the medium tyre has actually been rubbed away a bit from the prior contact with Oscar Piastri, and Charles Leclerc clearly willing to apply the same rules of battle to his own teammate Lewis Hamilton. No contact on that occasion, but Leclerc really going to the limit to protect that 3rd place down the Kemmel Straight. straight.
Yeah, as I was saying, you saw two completely different lines into turn one. Leclerc was tighter, V'd the corner more. Lewis Hamilton carrying far more speed, but doing a slightly longer line and kind of U-ing the corner instead of V'ing it, essentially carrying more minimum speed, probably doing a few more meters, but carrying that minimum speed allowed him to then push and get a run on Charles Leclerc through Eau Rouge and up Raidillon.
Lap 12 of 44, Lando Norris has now dispatched Arvid Lindblad and moved his way up into 6th. He's got about 7 seconds before he's on the back of Oscar Piastri, his teammate. So Norris wasting no time at all from 13th on the grid on lap 1 to 6th in the race by lap 13.
I said top 5 for Lando Norris, didn't I?
It was interesting because looking at the Formula 1 race simulations, they had him only getting up to 8th.
Yeah,
okay, we've lost Russell.
What do they know? What do they know?
He's doing well, is Lando Norris, but a pit stop will come his way. He's on the hard tyre, so he's on that alternate strategy compared to everybody around him is on the medium tyre. The medium runners, we expect to start seeing those coming in for a pit stop from around about lap 17. The hard tyres can go longer into this race. Okay, round 2 between the Ferraris. We're down the Kemmel Straight again. Hamilton in the wheel tracks of Leclerc. Leclerc squeezes into the outside at Lecombe. It's not as close this time around, but Hamilton tries to sling it round the outside, but there's no gap for him to carry it through. Leclerc holds on to 3rd.
Yeah, just didn't quite have the momentum at the end of the straight in order to get the overlap that was required to get that move around the outside done. We're noticing as well that, yeah, just Kimi Antonelli just every lap inching a tenth, 2 tenths further away.
Quicker than Charles, I got more pace.
I was waiting for that kind of radio message. He has a 5-second time penalty to serve as Lewis Hamilton. He'll do that in his first pit stop. Charles Leclerc is under investigation for the incident with Oscar Piastri. We don't know the outcome of that penalty yet. But if you are Ferrari, do you start to think, actually, if Hamilton is legitimately quicker, can he get through and even catch Max Verstappen for 2nd?
That's probably what you'd be looking at, and that's what the Ferrari pit wall will be chatting about right now. If there is a pace advantage with Lewis Hamilton, let him go, get after Verstappen and see if he can eke away from that mid-pack and kind of negate that 5-second time penalty.
Coming into the bus stop chicane, Hamilton just backing off a little bit from Charles Leclerc, topping up the battery as he presses heavily on the brakes. Antonelli out in front. Whilst he's not dramatically pulling away Kimi Antonelli, he's just sitting comfortably around that 2-second mark ahead of Verstappen.
Yeah, you don't score any extra points for finishing 20 seconds up the road, do you? So he's just doing enough, keeping his tyres in check, not allowing Max Verstappen to get close enough to have a sniff. He's driving a tactically very wise race right now.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli guided by race engineer Pete Bonington, aka Bono, who guided Lewis Hamilton to his Mercedes World Championships, and Michael Schumacher before that in his early Mercedes tenure. Lap 14 of 44, Antonelli, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton remain the top 4. Piastri 5th, Norris catching him at a rapid rate of knots in 6th. The 2 Racing Bulls, Lindblad ahead of Lawson, 8th and 9th, and the 2 Alpines finish out the top 10. Gasly now ahead of Franco Colapinto, who's got Gabriel Bortoletto all over his rear wing. Hadjar's up to 12th from the back of the grid. Hulkenberg, Albon, Behrman, the top 15. Sainz is 16th, ahead of Esteban Ocon. Bottas is 18th. Then comes Alonso, Stroll and Perez, the 21st and last run. I believe Perez has just come in for another pit stop, actually, so he's filtered towards the back. And actually, he's just said he thinks his suspension is broken. So the Cadillac driver struggling at the rear of the field, and currently the last car with George Russell tagging Lewis Hamilton on lap 1 at turn 5 and out of the race.
Yeah, Cadillac have had some difficult races recently, haven't they? We expected them to struggle in what is their first year in Formula 1, but that's not good news for Sergio Perez.
No, it certainly isn't. That chance of rain seems to have faded into nothing right now, as whilst there are overcast skies above the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, nothing threatening any kind of torrential downpour on the way, as it just starts to settle a little bit.
I was just about to say that. It's sort of spread out a little bit now as everybody's in that area of just trying to eke out their tyre life a little bit more. Everybody's spread out by roughly a second at the moment at the front of this race.
Gasly's decided to come into the pits from inside the top 10. So Gasly, really the first of the top 10 runners to decide to want a pit stop. It's a little slow though on the rear for Alpine as Gasly heads back out, having swapped to the hard tyre. He's followed in by Carlos Sainz further back in the pack, and I think that looked like a front wing change. It is a front wing, yes.
Yeah, he's having a front wing change as well. That'll be hemorrhaging time for him.
Meanwhile, a change in the order. Isaac Hadjar enters the top 10, having just got through on Gabriel Bortoleto. Actually interesting to watch Hadjar. He's had more ground to cover than Lando Norris has, but whilst Norris has made great progress through, I think so too has Isaac Hadjar. He's kept his nose clean in those opening stints, and having started down on the back row, has now entered the top 10 and is chasing down Franco Colapinto's Alpine, having just made moves on the Audi of Gabi Bortoleto.
Carlos Sainz isn't particularly happy with his Williams team. He says, I didn't approve that front wing change. Why are we changing it? It was the floor, not the front wing. So Carlos Sainz not happy at the moment.
Okay, Carlos Sainz, who originally qualified in 15th, that would have been 14th after the penalties, but then he became victim of the penalties with a battery change that saw him drop 10 places in the field. His teammate Alex Albon up in 13th at the moment, and Williams, whilst they continue to struggle for pace, brought some new upgrades last time out and this time out as well. So far not delivering the point scores that they so desperately need.
So this looming penalty over Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri, it's going on quite a while now. You would have thought that the officials would have looked at this and made up their mind a little bit sooner. We're approaching the pit stop window now for the medium compound tyre runners. That includes Leclerc and Piastri. If they're going to hand out a penalty that should be served in the pit stop window, they're going to need to do it soon.
Yeah, Colapinto and Lawson both next into the pits from inside the top 10 in that midfield scrap. Racing Bulls actually coming into this race only a point behind 5th place Alpine. So that is a genuine squabble there in the midfield.
We haven't heard from Andrew Benson yet this race, Harry. We should really ask him what he thinks is going to happen as this race unfolds.
Yeah, well, we can do that. It's lap 16 of 44. Let's check in with our BBC F1 correspondent, Andrew Benson.
Well, Antonelli's looking comfortable, isn't he? He's not exactly streaking away into the distance, but it's just a 10th here, a 10th there. The lead's 2.1 seconds now. But I think he seems in pretty much complete control of the race. The interesting thing is what's happening behind him. Verstappen and Leclerc stuck together. Lewis Hamilton not far behind. Oscar Piastri's dropped back since he had that damage to the floor, even though McLaren, with the incident with Leclerc, even though McLaren felt it wasn't too bad. And now what can Norris do? He's actually lapping quite quickly in 6th place now, so I expect him to join the back of that fight. I suspect, given Piastri's damage, they may ask Piastri to let Norris through, and then what can he do about the Ferraris? McLaren were hopeful before the race that they could race with the Ferraris because of the Ferraris' lack of straight line speed, so it's not impossible Norris could be on for a podium here.
Well, update for you as well, Andrew, on that incident between Piastri and Charles Leclerc. No further action is what race control deemed that as. Sam, agreed with that?
Not entirely, but I can see why it's no further action, because both drivers continued. There was no loss of position at the time. But Oscar Piastri is suffering due to the damage now. So if you look at you have to take the incident and not the repercussion of the incident into account, and I think that's what the officials have done in this situation.
Okay, still no one from the top 6 coming into the pit lane yet. Lots of action behind though, as Arvid Lindblad also pits. Here's Antonelli's radio.
Your tyres are looking good, Kimi, better than others, so you can afford to use them.
Well, that's dangerous.
In other words, you can crack on now and pull a nice gap.
Antonelli 2.7 seconds up the road as Pierre Gasly gets a grade A view of the two Racing Bulls making contact through the Lecombe chicane as Lindblad fights Lawson. Those two, the more this season goes on, you get the feeling that there's no love lost between the rookie and the Kiwi driver.
I told you yesterday, they're the most feisty driver pairing on the grid right now. Both of them getting their elbows out. Both want to lead that team. Both want a chance in the big boy team at Red Bull in the future. Obviously, Liam Lawson had that, and then he got taken away from him. Lindblad wants to prove his worth as Max Verstappen comes into the pit lane, Harry.
Verstappen in, he slows down to the pit lane speed limit. No lockups from Verstappen, nice and tidy. Leclerc and Hamilton go through up into second and third. Verstappen is greeted by his Red Bull mechanics. He hits his markers. It's a clean and tidy stop from Red Bull. 2.5 seconds as Verstappen is now sent back on his way, and they've done this well, have Red Bull. They've timed it tactically. He'll feed out in around about 6th place. The car coming through La Source now is his teammate Isaac Hadjar, giving him a nice buffer.
Exactly, and he will put no pressure on Max Verstappen heading down towards Eau Rouge. He's too far back anyway, to be honest, but Max Verstappen on his way. Now he'll need to get his head down and try and do the undercut on Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, Ferrari will have to think about how they respond here. Hamilton will have a 5-second penalty to serve at his pit stop, so no matter how quick Ferrari are, they'll have to add on no work on the car for 5 seconds. So Charles Leclerc here is the real key to their strategy, but virtual safety car is out. Here's Hamilton.
What lap are we on?
We are lap 18.
Why the hell? I told you what strategy I wanted to do. Just to put me out with everyone else now.
We are on plan B.
Hamilton not happy with the strategy he's on, clearly, but a virtual safety car reduces the time lost, Sam, in a pit lane.
Absolutely, and this is perfect for Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli, and the worst possible news for Max Verstappen, who's just pitted just before the virtual safety car came out, but it's now ending. So actually, nobody would win or lose coming in right now.
VSC ending as Antonelli is told to box, but he won't get the full benefit of it, whereas Antonelli just coming into the bus stop chicane now, so it kind of nulls that advantage now. Not sure what the virtual safety car was for. It might have just been a bit of debris or gravel on the track that needed to be cleared, but they've done a quick job of it as Antonelli comes into the pits now, slows down, hits his markers, little bit of a lock up as he comes in to the pit marker. Bit of delay on the front left, but it's 2.6 seconds, sends him back out again. Leclerc and Hamilton stay out.
Yeah, that was a decent stop from Mercedes, just what they needed to do. Didn't try and rush things, just did a steady stop. He now exits the pit lane and is comfortably ahead of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, feeds out in 5th spot, lap 19 of 44 then here at Spa-Francorchamps, Formula One's longest lap, one of only 3 circuits to have been on the original 1950 Formula One World Championship calendar.
I think this will be interesting now. I can imagine Lando Norris is going to be on the radio to his team saying, I'm quicker than Oscar, let me through.
Down through the gears is Lando Norris making his way towards Jackie Ick's corner. The double left of Pouon will be what follows.
I think they might be pitting Oscar Piastri to what maybe at the end of this lap to get him out of the way of Lando Norris. He's clearly got the pace at the moment in this Belgian Grand Prix to potentially fight the Ferraris for a podium finish.
You would, surely, for Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Different strategies. Piastri's medium tyres will be screaming for life now, whilst Lando Norris's hard tyre will be able to cling on for that little bit longer. Norris, who had a 10th-place grid penalty, having qualified 3rd, started in 13th, rocketed up the order, and will he make the move into Blanchimont, the bus stop chicane? He almost gives Piastri the hurry up. Piastri's going to move to the inside at the bus stop chicane. Norris is going to scream round the outside, and let's watch for Piastri. Does he come into the pit lane? We'll see. Thankfully, the camera cut away at the exact wrong moment. No, Piastri stays out, but Norris is now ahead.
Yeah, I think that was fairly nicely coordinated and quite nicely played between the 2 McLaren drivers.
And we are opening the gap to Piastri, and we need to serve a 5-second penalty, that's why.
Another one.
As that's Lewis Hamilton told of his 5-second time penalty then, and sounded rather exasperated over the radio. Lap 20 of 44, Charles Leclerc leads, having not pitted. Lewis Hamilton second, has not pitted, but as you just heard, has that 5-second time penalty. Piastri's just got ahead of Norris again, by the looks of things. has that been a nice easy move down the Kemmel Straight? I'd like to get a look at it as Antonelli, who has pitted from the lead, is 5th ahead of Max Verstappen, and it wasn't easy, the move for Oscar Piastri. Norris tried to defend, coming through the Kemmel Straight, but Piastri wasn't willing to let 3rd place slip away from him that easily.
And another virtual safety car, Harry. Lawson incident forcing another driver off the track noted. That's with his teammate Arvid Lindblad, but virtual safety car. What do McLaren do now? I mean, surely they've got to pit Piastri, but what does this do for Lando Norris? Mind you, it might be over quite quickly. The marshal has retrieved whatever was on the circuit. I'm not sure. I think that's somewhere down towards Blanchimont. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just in the run-up before Blanchimont, when the marshal clears the track as Charles Leclerc makes his way through. Still under virtual safety car conditions. Does this fall at the right time for Charles Leclerc? Can they make use of the reduced time it takes for a pit stop? You only lose 11 seconds under a virtual safety car compared to around 18 to 19 seconds. And he is called into the pit lane. The VSC is still out. Hamilton is also told to box. Ferrari are going to double stack here, but they'll have to delay servicing Hamilton with his 5-second stop to serve. Charles Leclerc comes in first as the Ferrari crew get to work. It's the hard tyre. It's nice and quick. It's beautiful from the Scuderia. Hamilton arrives next. No one touches the car. For 5 seconds, Norris takes over as the leader of this race. 5 seconds elapses as Lewis Hamilton is serviced by Ferrari, and Charles Leclerc feeds through, and he's gotten ahead of Kimi Antonelli. That is a legitimate move. Leclerc now ahead of Antonelli on the road.
Wow, we have a de facto race lead change, and VSC is ending now. So perfect for Charles Leclerc and for Ferrari. This has worked out very nicely, and it'll make the second half of this race really, really interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if that was why Bono was almost giving him a little bit of the hurry up. You can use your tyres if you want, just create a little bit more of a gap for if we get some kind of virtual safety car. And it's proven to show that, well, Ferrari still have a dog in this fight. Leclerc up to second and effectively the race leader, with Lando Norris still to pit. Antonelli third now, Verstappen fourth, Piastri fifth, Hamilton sixth, Hadjar seventh. As we're getting a look at Hamilton and his pit stop. Oh!
Is he okay?
He's okay, okay.
Hamilton was released. He saw a green light, but unfortunately had a bit of an incident with the man servicing the front right tyre, who was knocked over by Lewis Hamilton, who stopped, and the team saying everybody's okay. But that's not what you like to see, and you don't see it too often. Hamilton, though, released back into this race.
Yeah, nice to hear Lewis immediately on the radio asking if his mechanic was okay. He seems like he is, which is the best news so far about that incident. Lando Norris leads, but that set of pit stops and that VSC has really not helped him in this race. It was going along very, very nicely, but the fact he's on the hard compound tyre, he wouldn't have wanted to stop at that phase in the race, would have left him with too many laps to go on a medium set of tyres.
Green flag racing here at Spa, lap 22 of 44. Lando Norris leads, yet to pit, 1.4 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, who has just pitted and come out on fresh hard tyres. Antonelli being scuppered by the virtual safety car. They'll have to get the race lead back with an overtake on the road. Verstappen fourth, Piastri fifth, Hamilton, having served his 5-second time penalty, down in sixth. Hadjar has managed to get up to seventh, having started from the back row. Bortoletto is currently in eighth. Good run for the Audi driver, who's jumped both Lindblad and Lawson, who were noted, and that is now reviewed, and no further investigation between the two Racing Bulls drivers who came together in a moment down at the Lecom chicane.
Yeah, and both the Racing Bulls are being hunted down by Bortoletto's teammate Nico Hülkenberg, currently down in 11th.
Hulkenberg, who is so desperate for a point, yet to score in these races, is about to make the move for P10, and once again squeezed to the outside, coming into the right-hander of turn 5 by Liam Lawson, and just about got away with it. Hulkenberg ran out of road, but I would not be surprised to hear Hulkenberg on the radio in a few moments.
I think Charles Leclerc is getting fairly excited about leading this motor race. He's right behind Lando Norris, the current leader. But let's remember, Lando Norris has not stopped yet in this race. It's getting close between the pair of them, roughly half a second.
Happy hunting ground here for Charles Leclerc. Took his maiden Grand Prix victory here with Ferrari back in 2019 through the bus stop chicane. On the exit out of the left-hander, down the start-finish straight we go as we head towards lap 23 of 44. Lando Norris leads but needs to pit, losing time now to a faster Ferrari. Antonelli lurks behind in third, but Charles Leclerc will look to line this one up through the Kemmel Straight, and they rise over Eau Rouge at the top at Radion, up and over the crest. The sun shines off the orange McLaren and the red Ferrari as the Scarlet car breezes to the side of the Papaya and through down the Kemmel Straight to take the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc out through 5 and 6 is your new race leader. Lando Norris demoted to second, and Kimi Antonelli would have watched that in third and will start to want to get the hurry on.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli's coming towards the lead too, isn't he? But that just goes to show the difference between a set of 23-lap-old tyres and a set of 2-lap-old tyres. Just the difference in pace was alarming in that first sector.
Now, a lap ago, we saw Hulkenberg really piling on the pressure for 10th place Liam Lawson. Now Hulkenberg actually lost a lot of ground to Pierre Gasly, who's chasing Hulkenberg for that 11th spot. Gasly down in 12th. The Alpine drivers have really lost out after the first pit stops to the Racing Bulls and the Audi drivers, and to make Hamilton's pain worse, we told you about the incident with his front right mechanic, and that has been noted as an unsafe release. We'll see if that gets elevated to anything for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, if you're Lewis Hamilton, you get a penalty for that, you'd be thinking, what on earth have I got to do to get a result here this afternoon? I feel like both incidents have kind of not been his fault. He hasn't really done anything too wrong. The one with George Russell, there's not much he could do there. It was just behind an enormous wake of dirty air going through Lecom and then caught the side of George Russell, and then in the pit stop, if it's green and he's told to go, he's going to be going. So yeah, that's a tough one for Lewis Hamilton.
News from the back of the grid. Sergio Perez reported a rear spring issue, and after a puncture, Cadillac have retired his car after inspecting it in the garage. So we're now down to 20 cars with Sergio Perez out, along with George Russell, who crashed with Lewis Hamilton into turn 5 on lap 1, and that saw the Brits and his day over before it really even begun. Meanwhile, the sound of his teammate is what you can hear. Kimi Antonelli and the sole remaining Silver Arrow hunting down Lando Norris through the right-hander at Rivage. Now, the left-hand flick of Jackie Ickx that leads you downhill across the just over 7-kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit towards turns 10 and 11, the fast double left-hander of Pouhon.
Yeah, we're on board at the moment with Kimi Antonelli. Right now, the fastest man in Formula One. Just went through Pouhon, one of the most amazing corners in Formula One, with the young Italian, and he's really hunting down Lando Norris at the moment.
Did you put front wing in or not?
We didn't manage.
Yeah. I can't turn the car. So.
Lewis Hamilton struggling out there with his car, asking them to do a couple of degrees on the front wing just to give him a bit more balance to his liking, and not being serviced for what he wanted in the pit lane, and what ended up being a bit of a chaotic pit stop for the 7-time world champion, who's down in 6th. And really, ever since that big crash for him at the end of free practice 3 on Saturday, hasn't felt the same with the car. Was really on it from Friday morning's practice running, and since they've had to rebuild the car, it started to fall away from him. Meanwhile, his teammate Charles Leclerc is chasing back-to-back victories, having won last time out at the British Grand Prix. He leads the race from Lando Norris, who is owed a pit stop, having started on the hard tyre and now running on it for 25 laps, having recovered brilliantly so far from his 13th place grid spot. Antonelli chasing. 25 of 44. As Verstappen is fourth, Piastri rounds out the top five. Lap 25 of 44, and Charles Leclerc has taken the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. That's due to a virtual safety car coming out briefly that allowed him a cheap pit stop to get ahead of Kimi Antonelli on the road. Leclerc leads this Grand Prix outright, chasing back-to-back wins in Formula One, but Kimi Antonelli's not far behind and looking to dispatch Lando Norris, who's owed a pit stop, sits second, but lap 25, Charles Leclerc leads.
And Harry, it's looking like it's very, very challenging at the moment for Kimi Antonelli to overtake Lando Norris, even though there's a massive tyre deficit with regards to the life of those tyres. Kimi Antonelli's just getting bottled up at the moment, allowing Charles Leclerc to just scamper away a little bit. The fight for this win really is on at the moment, and at the moment you'd say it's advantage Charles Leclerc.
Lewis Hamilton will be investigated after the race for that unsafe release in the pit lane, so he'll have that hanging over him once we call the checkered flag at the end of 44 laps of running here at Spa. You're right though, Sam, another lap ticks by and Antonelli is still not through on Norris, although he is very close coming through La Source and will surely be lining this one up down the Kemmel Straight. Worth noting, both have Mercedes power units in the back of their cars, but one is the works manufacturer and the other is the customer, and it's great momentum that Kimi Antonelli has over the hill at Raidillon. Norris moves to the inside, doesn't even try and squeeze Antonelli, who hits the brakes and makes second place his. Antonelli through on Norris.
Mega important part of the race this for everybody concerned. Kimi Antonelli up to second place. Now he's got to get his foot down, get his head down and charge after Charles Leclerc. There's a 3-second gap at the moment. Expect that to come down over the next few laps.
Leclerc just under 3 seconds, then it's a further second back to Lando Norris now, who's already lost a huge chunk of time. I'm sure McLaren in that pit box might be getting busy soon. After Norris, it is Verstappen in fourth, Piastri fifth, Hamilton sixth, Hadjar is seventh, with Bortoletto eighth, whilst his teammate tries to retake 11th spot. But Hulkenberg going backwards at this point. He's in 12th, behind Gasly. Lindblad and Lawson round out the top 10. Outside of the top 12, it's Colapinto in 13th, then Albon, Behrman, Sainz, Ocon, Bottas, Alonso and Stroll, the 20 drivers that remain in this race. Sergio Perez retiring his Cadillac with issues, and George Russell crashing with Lewis Hamilton on lap 1 and retiring from the race on the spot.
Isaac Hadjar's done a great job this race, hasn't he? He's up in P7. When Norris pits, that'll be P6. And from last on the grid, I think the strategy that Red Bull did to pit him early and go on to the hard compound tyre was an absolute masterstroke, as Lance Stroll is told he has a clutch problem and he needs to retire the car.
Stroll then in the pits from 20th. Looks like we're about to go down to 19 cars. Little lock-up from Max Verstappen as he's starting to feel the pressure from Oscar Piastri. I don't think Verstappen is very comfortable out there in his Red Bull.
No, he's reported that he's got no grip on this set of tyres, so he's not happy at the moment. Sitting in fourth, but coming under increasing pressure from Oscar Piastri.
Down the Kemmel Straight we go on lap 27 of 44. Piastri's also got damage himself to the front right portion of his floor after tangling with Charles Leclerc down at turn 5. That was investigated and deemed all clear, with no further investigation required, so no penalty coming either way, as Verstappen further reports his woes, tyres not working.
It's amazing how a car can feel so good on one compound, you switch to another compound and the car feels absolutely horrible. I've had it before. It's not a fun feeling, and that's exactly what Max is describing to his engineer at the moment.
Got about 8 tenths between himself and Oscar Piastri. Feels like the move will come for the McLaren man in about a lap or so's time. Lap 27 of 44. Move further down the order. Oliver Behrman, the British driver in his second season down at Haas. Whilst they can't quite fight for points, he's just dispatched Alex Albon for 14th place.
Yeah, Williams down in 15th and 16th. Such a disappointing season so far for them. They pinned all their hopes on this year's car, saying that they weren't going to do any upgrades last year. Yet last year they got a couple of podiums out of Carlos Sainz. They thought that this year would be a huge upward trajectory for them, taking them towards the front of the grid again, where they were in the 80s and 90s and the early noughties, but it's not to be. They find themselves languishing down towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, and looks like we've got 19 cars left in this race. We've lost 3 drivers. Lance Stroll has just pulled into the garage in his Aston Martin. Sergio Perez out of this race, and George Russell, the big name, to crash out on lap 1, tangling with Lewis Hamilton. Let's hear what he has to say. He's speaking with Mike Seymour.
George, not quite sure what to say. It seems like one thing after another at the moment. What can you tell us about the incident with Lewis there and the build-up to it?
Well, it all started from the build-up. I came out of turn 1. For whatever reason, I was 30 to 40% down on my battery, and I just got totally swamped up by 3 cars. Incident with Lewis, I've not really seen it. I thought probably a racing incident, but I'm not going to blame Lewis. You know, if things were normal, I wouldn't have been even battling with Lewis. I'd have been battling with Kimi and Max ahead.
You touched on the frustrations yesterday that you're feeling. I mean, where do you go from here, George?
Yeah, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Not good enough on all regards. So try and reset again. Done it enough times this season, and see what we can do.
Thank you.
I think that's the most down I've heard George Russell.
Really fed up, isn't he? Does not sound happy, and you know, I think that he's got to, like I said, get his head down and understand this battery issue that he keeps on having with his team. It's like the team don't think there's too much of an issue, yet George is adamant that there seems to be an issue and some discrepancy between his battery management and Kimi Antonelli's.
Talk of Kimi Antonelli, gap's not exactly...
it's come down.
It has, but...
Slowly. It's currently 2.2 to 2.3 seconds to our race leader, Charles Leclerc. And it's just bubbling quite nicely at the moment. We could get a battle towards the last 10 laps of this race.
Yeah.
It'd be really exciting to see if Charles Leclerc can hold out for this race win. He won last time out at Silverstone. Can he make it 2 in 2?
Meanwhile, battle for third. Max Verstappen sweeps round the outside at turn 5 and gets ahead of Lando Norris, but he runs deep. That will give Norris the cutback through turn 7. Can't make it work. Verstappen gets third place. Remember, Norris's tyres screaming for life. Surely at this stage of the race, he's run 29 laps, having yet to pit on the hard tyre, and now finds Oscar Piastri behind him, and surely the move will come soon.
Surely Oscar Piastri will be making a move through on Lando Norris soon. Surely the team will tell Lando, sorry mate, you've got to let your teammate through. You're on a different strategy and it hasn't quite worked for you with the full course yellow. Not the full course yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah, we're not in Formula E anymore. Sorry, the virtual safety car. Sorry.
Oh, hello, Mr. Formula E driver.
All World Endurance. I'm very sorry about that.
Do they have it in IndyCar as well? Full course yellow? No. I'm pretty sure they do. Anyway,
they've got waiver rounds.
We're in Formula 1 right here, and it's lap 29 of 44. Charles Leclerc leads by 2.3 seconds. Last lap around, though, Kimi Antonelli was about 3/10 quicker. And we'll see what they've got. They should have just come over the line now, so we'll get an update on that one. But Antonelli is reeling in Charles Leclerc, but not at a drastic rate. It's just dipped below 2 seconds now.
Yeah, but he's the only man in the 1 minute 49. So everybody else is in the 1 minute 50. Charles Leclerc is probably the second fastest car out on track at the moment. You look at Max Verstappen at 150.3, Lando Norris at 151.7. So horrible pace from him right now.
Expecting some team radio there. That was Norris saying, I don't want any yo-yo racing with Oscar. I'll explain why later. Is that Norris saying that, or was that his engineer? Well, we didn't quite see that. I imagine it would be the engineer. And we look forward to hearing the explanation.
Yeah, I think that'll be made a little bit clearer come the end of the race.
Okay, lap 30 of 44. Andrew Benson, what do you think Lando Norris is saying or being told there on the radio?
Yeah, So, Harry, that was Will Joseph, Lando Norris's engineer, saying to Norris that he doesn't want any yo-yo racing with Oscar Piastri, and he'll explain why later. Piastri's chasing him down at the moment on Piastri's newer tyres, while Norris is making this stint on the hards last as long as McLaren want it to. The reason for no yo-yo racing is that if a driver starts using electrical energy to pass another driver in suboptimal conditions or whatever, it can really affect their overall lap time, and you can end up in a scrap that costs you a lot of race time for no benefit. And when it's your teammate, you don't want to do that. Eventually the faster car always ends up in front, but you want, with your teammate, you want to be maximising your race time, and Norris has just been told to pit. So that's why Will Joseph said to him, don't race with Oscar in that way.
And on cue, Norris comes into the pits. That releases Oscar Piastri up into 4th place. He can try and set his sights on Max Verstappen and maybe a final place on the podium, as Norris is greeted by his McLaren mechanics to get rid of his hard tyres. And it's slow getting the hard tyre off on the rear left. It's slow getting it on as well. That is a nightmare for Lando Norris and McLaren. All the hard work of that opening stint undone in a few seconds.
McLaren, they've been the benchmark on pit stops over the last few years, but that was a horror show on the rear left. Wouldn't come off. The hard compound tyre was stuck to his McLaren car, and then slow on with the medium compound. Anyway, he's got a lot of work to do. Finds himself down in 8th place, and it looks like the best that he could hope for this afternoon now, from what was a great position and a great fight through the pack, will be roughly 7th, potentially 6th place if he gets a move on.
Comes out behind Gabriel Bortoletto's Audi, who's running an excellent race, it should be said, for the Brazilian in his 2nd season of Formula 1. Lap 31 then of 44. That gap has come down now a little bit more dramatically to the Leclerc's lead. The first to second gear is so bad. Out of 1, it's so bad, so harsh. That is what Charles Leclerc was reporting about his gear changes. He leads this race by 1.5 seconds to Antonelli.
Yeah, you get different grades of gear shift in Formula 1. They're normally fairly seamless and you can't feel them. When you get an oscillation on a gear shift, you can really feel it through the chassis and through your back. So not ideal for Charles Leclerc there, and I hope that that's not the sign of any kind of reliability gremlin through his gearbox.
Verstappen sits in 3rd, Piastri 4th, Hamilton the top 5, Hadjar 6th, Bortoletto under huge pressure now from Norris, 7th and 8th. Lindblad and Colapinto round out the point scorers. That's your top 10. Then comes Lawson, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Behrman and Albon the top 15, with Sainz, Ocon, Bottas and Alonso the 19 drivers that remain in this Belgian Grand Prix. Lance Stroll has retired along with Sergio Perez, and we heard from George Russell crashing out of the race with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was given a 5-second time penalty for that. Russell not feeling it was Hamilton's fault, but nonetheless he's got bigger problems to sort out, with his title challenge starting to crumble away.
And the gap at the front of the field now, Harry, is 1.4 seconds, so Kimi Antonelli will be within a second, probably within the next lap or two. This fight for the win is going to be very exciting very, very soon, as Lando Norris makes his way round Gabi Bortoletto, the Audi driver. Does he keep it going into Lecom? Yes, he does. Well done from Lando Norris. He moves up to 7th.
Fernando Alonso getting a grade A view of that as he's lapped at his Aston Martin, but I'm sure he'll be quite pleased to see his protege and the man he manages, Gabriel Bortoletto, fighting it out for point scores inside the top 8 and with a McLaren. Bortoletto, of course, used to be part of the McLaren development programme before joining the Sauber team last year. Now a full Audi factory driver. Okay, battle at the front, lap 32 of 44. We are in to the latter stages of this Grand Prix. Leclerc with a 1.1 second gap now, and it's coming down with every corner. Kimi Antonelli is reeling in the Monegasque.
Yeah, it's within 1.1 seconds now, Harry. He's coming for him, isn't he? The young Italian.
Can Charles Leclerc find anything, or is this writing on the wall?
It's like the Jaws music as he comes up behind him at the moment. I think it's inevitable what is going to happen. It's just a case of deployment management, when and where Will he attempt this overtake and then keep it? If he manages to keep the lead for a lap or two after deploying and taking the lead, I don't see any winner other than Kimi Antonelli. But Charles Leclerc is a clever driver. He knows what to do and how to defend. This is going to be fascinating over the next few laps.
Charles Leclerc staring down the barrel of a second consecutive race victory. Don't think anyone had that predicted coming into this weekend. And let's be honest, at Silverstone, it would have likely been victory for Kimi Antonelli over Charles Leclerc had Antonelli not had the reliability issues and the failure towards the end of that race.
And Ferrari is somehow keeping themselves kind of in the fight for the Constructors' World Championship as well.
Antonelli's been told some information that Leclerc has been squeezing cars outside of turn 5 when trying to pass. Very valid, very useful information. Charles Leclerc really tangling with a multiple driver there.
Oh, and he's going to get held up here through the run out of turn 15.
He's really held up by the Cadillac of Valtteri Bottas, and that's going to allow Antonelli to get all over the back of him. Bottas finally gets out of the way. Through Blanchimont we go, and Leclerc would have lost a huge chunk of time there.
Oh, Charles Leclerc would be absolutely raging at the Cadillac driver there. Now look at the gap. They are right together, Harry.
Through the bus stop chicane, the sun glints off of Kimi Antonelli's silver arrow as he looks ahead at the scarlet red Ferrari. We cross the start-finish line for lap 34 of 44. We hit the brakes for the right-hander of La Source. That sets us now along the stretch, uphill towards Eau Rouge. Leclerc leads half a second between the two. Antonelli will apply the boost as he heads up and over the hill at Raidillon. Down the Kemmel Straight we go. Antonelli's been warned. Leclerc likes to squeeze cars to the outside at the end of the straight here. Leclerc leads Antonelli right to the outside, but Leclerc won't be able to squeeze. He doesn't have the straight line speed, and Antonelli retakes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix of lap 34 of 44, sweeping round the outside at 5, and he takes P1 from Charles Leclerc.
But let's see how much of the battery pack he's used in that manoeuvre. It looks nice and comfortable at the top of the hill. He's made a little bit of a gap to Charles Leclerc now, but let's see what he's got in Sector 3.
Right now, Kimi Antonelli romping away to victory, but can Charles Leclerc find anything in the tank? Through the middle sector we go as we sweep through the right and the left of 13 and 14 towards Stavelot now. This is where Charles Leclerc got held up massively by Valtteri Bottas. Will we look back at that? It might not have lost him the race. It might have just brought him another lap had it not been Bottas there in his way. But as we look through the helmet of Charles Leclerc, starts to get a little smaller, that silver arrow of the Mercedes.
They're coming slightly closer together at this stage, breaking into the bus stop chicane. You can hear both of them with the clipping going through Blanchimont. Sounds like they're almost standing still as they go through there. They're actually downshifting at turn 17 while going flat out. It's quite remarkable, really, with these new engines, the 50-50 power split that they've got. Fastest lap of the race last time round for Kimi Antonelli.
As we head through Eau Rouge once more, now the gap up to a second. Antonelli leads, Leclerc, Verstappen third. He's got Piastri behind by a couple of seconds. Then comes Hamilton. Hadjar is sixth. Norris is seventh. Bortoletto, Lindblad and Colapinto make up the top 10. Then it's Gasly in 11th. Lawson, Hulkenberg, Behrman and Albon the top 15. Sainz is 16th with Esteban Ocon 17th. Valtteri Bottas 18th and Fernando Alonso 19th and last of the remaining drivers. 20th and out Stroll, Perez retiring and Russell crashing out on lap 1.
Yeah, Colapinto down in 10th place is looking to do a kind of defensive job for the remainder of this race against his teammate Gasly and Liam Lawson. He's 19 seconds behind Arvid Lindblad, so yeah, an Argentinian doing defensive work, not what we saw them do on Wednesday.
And
I don't want to talk about that anymore. It upsets me too much.
Even with victory last night?
It was great. It was great. You know, I only got the highlights, but
I mean, there were a lot of highlights.
There was a lot of highlights. But I'm still wounded by Wednesday, Harry. It still hurts.
Well, you know what? Italy didn't even make it to the World Cup, and right now
They've got a new hero, haven't they?
They really have. They are flying the flag in Formula One. And for Kimi Antonelli, the Italian driver, 19 years old from Bologna, whilst he's in a Mercedes, he's got the Italian nation team behind him in Ferrari. Charles Leclerc actually not giving up without a fight here. He's back to within a second.
And I think that's all down to deployment of battery. I think Kimi Antonelli was probably hurting a little bit from using so much in order to get through on Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc able to stick with him at this phase of the race.
Heading down the Kemmel Straight now, within half a second. Leclerc's going to try and fight back here. Can he do a late lunge down the inside? He has a little look, but he's not close enough. But there's a prospect here.
These two have disappeared from Max Verstappen, haven't they? Max is now 8 seconds behind Charles Leclerc in second place. Fastest lap of the race last time round for Lando Norris on those medium compound tyres, but he's going to have to get a real move on if he wants to catch Isaac Hadjar in 6th. Right now, though, everybody's eyes are looking at Kimi Antonelli versus Charles Leclerc at the front of the field.
If you're Italian, who do you want to win?
An Italian.
The driver or the team?
Oh, I don't know. Do you prefer cars or do you prefer people?
Yeah, but if you're Ferrari, you transcend
cars. I don't know. People are more difficult, aren't they? Cars are easy to understand.
Former Ferrari driver Sam Bird.
Yeah, but I was the reserve driver for Mercedes.
You were the reserve driver.
So, I don't know.
More recent?
Yeah, exactly.
I was actually, I was at the Goodwood Festival of Speed last week. Kimi Antonelli was there, and there's a great picture of him surrounded by Ferrari mechanics who are running their old Formula One cars up and down the hill. They all wanted a picture with the Italian leading the championship, which is what he is on course to continue doing. If he can finish ahead of Charles Leclerc, he'll bag another 25 points and he will extend his lead to 47 points at the top of the standings, not to George Russell, to Lewis Hamilton.
Did you have to do maths for that?
Yeah, very
That's
quick maths.
Shocking.
Yeah.
No, but you got your calculator. I had that in my head, Harry. I had that 5 laps ago. Shocking. Anyway, the pressure is off. The pressure is off Charles Leclerc at the moment. You know, he's just gunning for another race victory. He's not really in this championship fight right now, is he, Harry? All the pressure is on Kimi Antonelli. He needs to extend that gap, heading towards the halfway point and heading into Hungary.
Closing up once again down at turn 5. But Charles Leclerc just has to sit in the wheel tracks of Kimi Antonelli. Verstappen, as you say, kind of in no man's land down in 3rd. Piastri can't reel him in. Hamilton 5th. Hamilton is slowly catching Piastri here. There's maybe a couple of points up for grabs extra for Lewis Hamilton. Hadjar has had a good run all the way from 21st on the grid up in 6th, having done 2 pit stops consecutively, got onto the hard tyre within the first 3 laps and run pretty much to the end. Can he stay ahead though of Lando Norris, who had a late pit stop having run on the hard tyres, but it was a slow pit stop too. He's on the quicker medium tyre. He's 6.5 seconds adrift, having started down in 13th, in 7th at the moment. Bortoletto is 8th, then comes Lindblad and Colapinto, the top 10, as Hadjar Sam is given some radio.
He has been indeed. He's been told, right, Lando Norris is expected to catch you in the final 2 laps of this race. You're doing a great job. Get your head down. Give it all you've got.
That's the kind of encouragement you need, isn't it, as a racing driver in the final stages of a challenging Grand Prix.
Charles Leclerc's doing a really good job, isn't he, Harry? Just sticking with Kimi Antonelli at the moment, not letting him disappear, staying within a second of the young Italian. This Grand Prix isn't over just yet.
It is not. It'll be over when the checkered flag flies at the end of 44 laps. We are on the 38th right now, and Hamilton in the other Ferrari fancies a chance here at 4th place, as
he's run a bit deep there into turn 1, hasn't he? A load of understeer going through La Source and then just hurts him on the exit. When you get understeer on the entry, Harry, it means that you've got more of a radius to turn on the exit. It then means that you can hurt the rear tyres because you haven't turned enough with the front end. Then you have to light up the rear in order to turn the car. You've got to boost more down towards Eau Rouge. Understeer is not your friend in a racing car.
still some squabbles in the lower end of the top 10 as well. And whilst it may be midfield running, it'll be crucial points for the likes of Audi, Racing Bulls and Alpine, all of which look set to pick up some points at the moment. Bortoleto heading the way in that fight, 8th place for the Brazilian right now, ahead of the British rookie Arvid Lindblad for Racing Bulls, currently looking set to get 2 points in 9th, but hasn't given up on another 2 for Bortoleto's 8th place. And Colapinto currently looking to get the final point for Alpine, although his teammate Pierre Gasly is rapidly approaching behind.
I feel like Kimi Antonelli's just starting to stretch his legs on this lap. The gap's over a second now, 1.1 seconds, and yeah, I feel like Charles Leclerc's given it everything he's got, but just not able at the moment to hang with Kimi Antonelli on this lap. Now 1.2 seconds.
Qualified 19th here last year, raced his way to 16th, did Kimi Antonelli, right in the middle of his really tough period of performance in that European season last year. It's night and day.
It's night and day, but this current car, this new regulation car, suits him down to the ground. He's so full of confidence. He's making it look easy out there.
But credit to Charles Leclerc for keeping him honest, but he does now fall just to outside that 1 second gap. Meanwhile, the other Ferrari fancies 4th place here, which is currently occupied by the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. And Hamilton, well, as he rises up through Eau Rouge, up at the top at Raidillon, down the Kemmel Straight, how much can he use his boost button, deploying that electrical energy to catch up the McLaren ahead of him? Piastri sits in the middle of the road, then moves to defend. Hamilton tries to squeeze his way around the outside, runs out of room. He might get a better go next lap around.
Yeah, is it a matter of time now before Lewis Hamilton makes his way around Oscar Piastri with a slightly wounded McLaren? That contact with Charles Leclerc occurring much earlier in this race, and he's had to carry that car in 4th place all the way with a damaged front right end. Engine braking +1. It's not over for Charles Leclerc is the radio message. They're telling him, come on, you can get after Kimi Antonelli.
It's not over. That's what you want to hear. Some fighting spirit. We know the Mercedes is the best car. It's got the best engine, regardless of what the FIA regulations say. Antonelli is driving flawlessly. He is one of the best drivers in the grid today. But Charles Leclerc is not going down. Ferrari are not going down without a fight here. They sniff a victory. Back-to-back wins. And for this year, Ferrari, it's been going relatively well, if it wasn't for the Mercedes, who just have a level ahead of everybody else. But where they can sniff the opportunity, they will take it, much like Lewis Hamilton is trying to do for 4th place, which is currently still with Oscar Piastri.
And my point earlier, Harry, it's been a while since we had both Mercedes cars scoring big time in a Grand Prix. Ferrari are closing in. Okay, they're still a way back, but they're closing in for the Constructors' World Championship. This is, if it finishes like this will be another decent race for Ferrari.
Yeah, they will be about 75 points behind in the Constructors.
And we've seen that kind of gap overturned in the past.
Yeah, I agree. And they're putting a sizable gap ahead of McLaren, who sit 3rd. But here comes Lewis Hamilton to the outside at turn 5, sweeps round Oscar Piastri, who will get a glint of scarlet as Hamilton flashes by and puts that Ferrari up to 4th, and Piastri cannot re-attack. He settles for 5th place.
Would McLaren have settled for 5th and 7th at the beginning of the day? Potentially, but with the way that the cards fell early doors and that brilliant opening stint from Lando Norris, I think that they expected more out of this race.
Remember track limits.
Ooh.
How many do we have?
2. You have 2 already, so we don't want any more.
Okay, 3 strikes and you're out.
A little bit of pressure for Kimi Antonelli. 4 laps to go. Charles Leclerc only 1.1 seconds behind. Closes in a little bit on the young Italian. Is there going to be a twist in the final 4 laps?
Can I just say, there is an actual almighty battle going on for the final point as well. Colapinto's got Gasly, Lawson and Hülkenberg all behind him within about a second of each other.
He said he's going to be doing a full defensive job, and that's exactly what he's doing.
He really is, isn't he? Right, lap 41 of 44. Has Charles Leclerc found anything yet? 1.2 seconds the gap. He's being G'd up on the radio. Can that translate to actual on-track performance. Antonelli has led 25 laps so far of this Grand Prix. Lost the lead under pit stops, lost the outright lead thanks to a poorly timed virtual safety car.
Hamilton is under investigation post-race for unsafe release. We need to stay within 5 seconds. Hamilton under investigation post-race.
That's a great memory from the McLaren pit wall there. Just make sure, Oscar, that you stay within 5 seconds of Lewis Hamilton because of that issue with one of the mechanics in the pit stop with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis clipping one of the mechanics, and normally, and I say normally, that's a bit of a slam dunk when it comes to a penalty.
At the moment he's 2.1 seconds, so would be entitled, if there is any kind of time penalty applied to Hamilton post-race, to move himself up a position into 4th, which I think actually, if you're Oscar Piastri, you also take 5th place from what has been quite a tough weekend for him as well.
Tough weekend, and then to add to that, the damage in the early phase of the race. I think he's driven a nice race. He had the pace over Charles Leclerc in the early phase until that contact. So when they analyse this race, McLaren might be thinking, actually, we could have been in the fight for the win here. That could have been us.
As we get to the bus stop chicane, Charles Leclerc just dropping a fairly substantial amount of ground in that last lap to 1.8 seconds now.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli on the last lap did his best lap of the race, a 1:49.0 compared to a 1:49.5 for Charles Leclerc.
Half a second quicker as the laps are running out for Charles Leclerc. 3 laps to go. It's Antonelli, Leclerc, Verstappen 3rd, Hamilton, Piastri the top 5, Hadjar is 6th. A couple of seconds up the road from Norris. Borsaletto holding on to 8th ahead of Lindblad. Colapinto still 10th with Gasly, Lawson and Hulkenberg in tow. Then comes Behrman in 14th. Albon is 15th ahead of his teammate Sainz. Ocon 17th with Bottas and Alonso, the 19 drivers that remain in the field. We've lost Lance Stroll's Aston Martin. He retired with issues. So did the Cadillac of Sergio Perez. And George Russell, well, we only saw him for about 5 corners on lap 1 as he tangled with Lewis Hamilton, and that was enough to spin him off into the gravel, and his day was done.
See Fernando Alonso there moving out of the way of the lead 2. That's got to be so demoralising for Fernando Alonso, hasn't it? They've got an upgrade coming at the next Grand Prix, but they as a team have got a long way to go to be competitive.
Yeah, they do. Aston Martin and Alonso started last after a 20-place grid penalty, but he was last anyway from qualifying. So really pitting a lot of hopes just to try and get themselves at least fighting with the lower end of the midfield in a week's time in Budapest, which will be Formula One's next stop on the calendar at the Hungaroring for round 11 of the championship and the last stop before our summer break.
Is that where you were stalking Jamie Dornan last time we were there, Harry?
I wouldn't say that. I believe it was actually 5 Live's Steve Crossman.
Was it Steve Crossman? Oh, yes.
Spotted Jamie Dornan unbelievably checking into our hotel. Which I was very surprised about, keeping a low profile. And I think he did rock up to the race on Sunday. Budapest, always a brilliant location for a Formula One race, and the Hungaroring, tight, twisty and technical, very different to Eau Rouge and Spa.
A race where last year we saw Charles Leclerc leading in the early phases, but then with their tyre pressures just fading away in the second phase of the race.
And right now, Budapest far from the minds of Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc, who has now fully dropped back from the Mercedes man. 2.5 seconds adrift now. I think he's given up the fight.
I think he has. He's resigned to second place. Somebody that isn't resigned to their position is Lando Norris, now 1.5 seconds behind Isaac Hadjar. So in the last lap and a half, could we see an attack for 6th place? Lewis Hamilton saying that he's done the best he can with that front wing.
Yeah, Hamilton, who hasn't been happy with the balance of his Ferrari since his crash and the rebuild after free practice 3 on Saturday morning. 5-second time penalty for tangling with George Russell at the start of the race, which even Russell said he didn't really feel like that was Hamilton's fault.
Well, with Lewis Hamilton as well, he wanted a front wing change in terms of front wing angle at the pit stop. He didn't get it, and on the hard compound tyre, he's just finding himself having too much entry to mid-corner understeer. That's what's been hurting him in this second stint on the hard compound tyre.
It certainly has. Kimi Antonelli through the bus stop chicane. Charles Leclerc fighting hard, but ultimately the fight falling away. He can still see the Mercedes man as he starts to become a smaller speck through the visor of his helmet as we embark now on the final lap. Just over 7 kilometres between Kimi Antonelli and his 6th Grand Prix victory.
Again, quite an exciting race at the front of the Grand Prix. It was mixed up due to the virtual safety car, but Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc put on a great fight in the latter stages of this Grand Prix, but advantage Kimi Antonelli right now. With less than a lap to go, surely the victory will be his. He's 2.3 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc and heading towards his first victory at the Spa Grand Prix. What will be his, is it his 6th or 7th victory of the season?
It'll be his 6th win of the season for Kimi Antonelli, where it's not all gone his way in this season. Whilst he's looked incredible, reliability has reared its head at times for Mercedes, but so far this weekend Kimi Antonelli has not put a foot wrong. Quick out the blocks, put his teammate in the shade, and whilst his teammate will pick up no points, Kimi Antonelli is set for the full bag of 25 points. He's left Charles Leclerc for dust in the distance. He makes his way through the fast left-hander of Blanchimont and the short stretch down to the last heavy braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Just 2 more corners await Kimi Antonelli here, who has mastered Spa. It's a special place for all, and a special place for Kimi Antonelli, who takes victory at the Belgian Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli wins in Spa and collects his 6th win of the season. Charles Leclerc, putting on a great fight, comes home for 2nd for Ferrari off the back of victory at Silverstone, and Max Verstappen clinging on to 3rd and the final spot on the podium.
Isaac Hadjar holds on to 6th place ahead of Lando Norris. So in 4th, Lewis Hamilton, P5, Oscar Piastri, Isaac Hadjar 6th, Lando Norris P7.
It's a great recovery drive from Hadjar and Norris.
Nice work, Kimi. Well done there, mate.
Let's go.
Good effort,
Let's
mate.
go. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, well done,
Thank
mate.
you.
Yeah, it was a busy race, that one, but well done. Kept a cool head.
He did keep a cool head, a very cool head for Kimi Antonelli. Didn't massively extend that gap in the first phase of the race, kept it to within about 2 seconds. A real champion's drive.
Absolutely. Are we seeing the champion in waiting in Kimi Antonelli? What a job he's doing. 6th win of the season over, what is it? I haven't done the maths and I haven't got my calculator in front of me, Harry. Watch the gap now to Lewis Hamilton at the top of the championship.
Well, Kimi Antonelli sits at the top of the championship now with 204 points. Lewis Hamilton moves up to 2nd in the championship. So that is a gap of 45 between himself and Lewis Hamilton.
So it's gone up again. It's nearly 2 race victories in terms of points, the advantage that Kimi Antonelli has got. And can we realistically see anybody mounting a championship charge based on pace? I'd say no. Based on reliability, I'd say you never know, but right now he is in total command.
Russell stays 3rd in the championship, collecting no points, but is now 50 away from his teammate. That doubles for the start of the weekend.
I think George Russell can't wait for the summer break to try and regroup, go away, have a holiday, and forget Formula One for a little while. Meanwhile, Kimi Antonelli doesn't want the season to stop, does he? Just keeps on drumming everybody as he wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
Straight into the arms of his team down at Parc Fermé, smiles all round. It was his father's birthday yesterday, rewarded him with pole. I think he'll prefer the race victory wrapped up in a nice bow, which has certainly happened for Kimi Antonelli, a 6th Formula One win ahead of Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen third, Hamilton, Piastri the top 5. We'll see if Hamilton does receive any kind of penalty for that unsafe release. Hadjar 6th, Lando Norris 7th. It could have been more today actually for Lando Norris. Gabriel Bortoleto, back-to-back points finishes for the Audi driver. 8th, ahead of Arvid Lindblad, who I think will actually be disappointed with 9th place. And Franco Colapinto holding on to the final point in 10th.
I enjoyed that race, Harry.
I did too.
There were times where not much was happening, but that virtual safety car really shook up the order, allowing Charles Leclerc to lead and made it very, very exciting towards the end of the race.
Outside of the top 10, Gasly, Lawson and Hulkenberg all just missed out. Behrman 14th ahead of Albon and Sainz. Ocon 17th ahead of Bottas. And Fernando Alonso 19th and last, 2 laps down in his Aston Martin. The upgrade cannot come soon enough for them next week. Lance Stroll retired, Sergio Perez retired, and George Russell also retired. As Hamilton gets out of his car, looks at the front end of it, didn't get the front wing adjustment he wanted, had a tricky pit stop, unsafe release, incident with Russell on lap 1.
And he's still got to go to the stewards at the end of this race to discuss the unsafe release, hasn't he? So not the best day for Lewis Hamilton. Another driver that had a fairly lonely race actually was Max Verstappen, just sort of on his own in third at the end. I wonder what he's thinking with all these rumours about his future looming in and around the paddock. Is a lonely third place enough at this stage for him to stay at Red Bull? What do you think?
Well, he's ahead of a Ferrari and a McLaren.
But on pace, they were probably a little bit better than him. I'm sure we can come to this
in the pod
or another pod in the near future.
We'll of course be analysing all of what we've seen in the Checkered Flag podcast, which will be available on BBC Sounds. You can just search F1, or you can find us on the BBC Sport YouTube channel. We'll go and record that at the close of this Grand Prix. We'll take you through the post-race interviews though, which will be coming up momentarily, chatting to our top 3. But the grandstand certainly packed out here at Spa as round 10 comes to a close. We approach the halfway point of the season. Still not entirely clear as to how many races we'll end up with this season, but one more to go before the summer break. And now we can hear from our top 3. They're speaking with Jacques Villeneuve.
Kimi Antonelli, amazing win. I mean, you had pace all weekend, very strong. You were very cool with the battle with Max on the first lap. Then virtual safety car, you had to fight back to the lead. Leclerc super fast, stayed in your mirrors. You didn't crack. How does it feel to get back to the winning circle after the tough races?
Yeah, no, it's great to be back on the top step after obviously a few difficult rounds. And yeah, it was a hard-fought race, you know. We lost obviously the first place with a virtual safety car, but then we managed to make our way back. And yeah, it was a tough win because Charles was quick, and we had to hold on to that.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Charles, aggressive race today. We saw you very aggressive in the race. You come from a win in Silverstone. Once again, I mean, you were giving him a hard time. You kept up with him. You have this car under control now. Can you fight for the rest of the season?
Well, I believed in the win until the end. We had a little bit of luck, obviously, with the VSC at the right time for us. But the pace was relatively strong. There's been some 5-6 laps on the hard where I've been struggling with the front axle, and then it came back a little bit. I felt better with the car. There's still some work to do, but surely it's a step forward.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Max, you tried everything this weekend. The toe in qualifying, you really were wanting it. Interesting strategy at the start. You know, you made everyone believe, okay, maybe he can get the lead, but then was it a question of surviving? Are you happy with your result?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I tried everything I could in the race. I mean, the first stint wasn't too bad. Second stint probably a little bit more difficult, but at the same time also I think Kimi and I, we got a little bit unlucky with the VSC as well. So I think for us to be on the podium is very good. I mean, I gave it everything I had, and I think actually P3 is good.
Well, good points to bring home.
Yep.
And Kimi, the last few races, I mean, you had a lot of lead in the points. It's been dropping through a little bit of bad luck, and now you've built a big gap again. Do you think you're back in the road? You got the momentum going again?
Yeah, no, I think the momentum was always there. It was just about getting the result, and today we were a bit lucky with what happened in terms of championship, but that's why you gotta try to take every opportunity, because we saw that it can really swing very easily the situation. So yeah, we just gotta keep performing, keep bringing the result, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Well, carry on.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Thank you.
1997 F1 world champion Jacques Villeneuve, just nestled in there next to Kimi Antonelli, speaking to our winner and Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Well, that just about does it as the crowd invasion begins for the podium ceremony. We have got to head off and record a podcast now, and that will be available on BBC Sounds and the BBC Sport YouTube channel later on today. My thanks to British racing driver Sam Bird. We'll see you in a week's time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.